as the century of shame for African continent, where the whole of it had been colonized, and a half a millennium of plunder by the European and Arabs with the slave trade come to an end, become free. Africa had become free. Uhuru, freedom had come. The question was, where is Umoja? Because you remember, it was Uhuru na Umoja. Uhuru came. Now the question was, where is Umoja? Umoja, for economic prosperity, through economic integration, in order to create big markets to support the efforts of the African wealth creators, and Umoja for political integration, where possible, to create strategic security for the black race on land, in the air, at sea, and in space. Yes, some of the efforts for economic integration have moved. I worked with Mzee Moi, Mzee Mwinyi, Mzee Mkapa to revive the East African community. You remember this community had broken up. So when we came into government, immediately we started working with Mzee Moi, Mzee Mwinyi, later on Mkapa. We brought it back. I salute Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo for joining the East African community. Let us fully implement the Charter of the East African community and the roadmap. How about COMESA and the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Area? Some actors seem to treat this integration as optional. In my view, I have always heard that it is mandatory to unite or risk perpetual marginalization. How about political integration? In the case of East Africa, we the Pan-Africanists have never relented. Ever since the student days in the 1960s, we have been struggling for that integration, supporting our elder Pan-Africanists, Mwalimu Nyerere, Abeid Karume, Kenneth Kaunda, Arap Moi, etc. With Mzee Kibaki, Mzee Mkapa, Prince Kagame, Prince Nkurunziza, we called for the fast tracking of the federation in the year 2014. However, on account of the awkwardness of the African Revolution, seeing what is happening in much of Africa, instead of Uhuru na Umoja, in many countries, in many areas, we have got Uhuru na Uhasama. We have a Uganda proverb, Ekitata muhima tekimumala konte. In English, it means that if a Muhima, one of the tribes in Uganda, does not die, even if he loses cattle, on account of his dedication to cattle keeping, he will do everything possible to get new cattle. Africa is still there, although we have lost opportunities, but we can catch up. What is the consequence of Uhuru na Uhasama? Uhuru na Uhasama, instead of Uhuru na Umoja. Economic stagnation and the suffering of the populations. What is generating the migration of the African youth that are dying in the Mediterranean Sea going to Europe? It is the narrowness of the money economy of Africa that does not create necessary jobs. One of the consequences of not fully integrating our markets, investors get frustrated when they cannot export within even the East African community. The GDP of Africa today, the GDP of the whole of Africa is US dollars 3.6 trillion. That of the USA is US dollars 31.82 trillion. The GDP of USA is bigger than the one of Africa, more than 10 times. China is now 20.6 trillion. India is US dollars 4.18 trillion. Even little South Korea has got a GDP of US dollars 1.86 trillion. One may ask, why does the little South Korea have the that GDP size? One factor is that South Korea, because of the Cold War politics, benefited a lot from the USA market. However, in our Luganda language, we say, Omuggo oguli ku muliraano ky'eggobango. The stick in the neighbor's house will not help you to scare away the leopard. You need your own stick in your own house. You have seen Mr. Trump recently threatening tariffs on South Korea and others. The question we need to ask is, does size of the domestic market matter in terms of attracting investments, domestic or foreign? The size of your market matters. Why? China opened up its economy in 1978, when many of the African countries were already under the pastoralism of the World Bank and the IMF, were already investing, implementing structural adjustment, all those things, etc. The Chinese are still communists. Chinese are communists. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Yet the economy has attracted US dollars 2.7 trillion from outside since 1978. While the whole of Africa has attracted US dollars 1.8 trillion. The GDP of China in 1978 was US dollars 149 billion. The three richest countries in the world today are all big countries, big land mass and big population. While we look for foreign markets, the reliable core market is the internal one. It is guaranteed. The richest countries are the USA, China, and India. I appeal to the youth of East Africa, to go back to Uhuru na Umoja. This Uhuru na Uhasama is really a disaster.
Ladies and gentlemen, a key obstacle to trade in our region is the ever-evolving non-tariff barriers that continue to hinder effective trade between and among partner states. Eliminating NTBs, enhancing infrastructure connectivity, and regulatory harmonization remain a key priority among my stewardship of the community. I am therefore pleased to inform you that our concerted efforts to eliminate non-tariff barriers have yielded results, with the number of reported barriers declining by about 56% from 61 NTBs in 2024 to 27 NTBs in 2025. I am sure that my successor is going to drive this effort into the future to ensure that we eliminate roadblocks and barriers to trade between our partner states. Further, it is encouraging to note that the community continues to harmonize regulatory frameworks to facilitate implementation of commitments under the Customs Union and the Common Market to support and enhance trade among partner states. As a result, partner states have developed procedures in sanitary and phytosanitary measures, compilation and dissemination of statistics, and common procedures for notification among partner states on national regulatory measures introduced by partner states.
The digital footprint of the EAC has been enhanced. The EAC currently stands out from other regional economic communities in Africa in the promotion of an open, safe, and secure digital future for all. Accountability and professionalism within the organs and institutions of the community has been strengthened through enhanced internal controls and updating administrative instructions and procedures. We have deliberately increased engagements with our development partners, resulting in increased technical and financial support to EAC programs and activities impacting our people.